Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today is diesel heater day. We're going to fit our diesel heater in the garage. We have got the 2 kilowatt Autoterm diesel heater from Bobil Vans. So we bought it as part of the hot water kit that we had. We've got the heat exchanger on there as well to reheat the water using the diesel heater. Really clever piece of kit. We've also decided to have an internal fuel tank, so we've got a 15 litre tank that's going in the garage. I'm not going to drop the fuel tank and put the fuel sender in there and everything else, purely because it's a lot of work and I can't be bothered. I'll be honest, I can't be bothered. What we're going to do is today is we're going to mount the fuel tank and we're going to start putting the diesel heater in place, getting it all up and running, and then we've got to start routing all the thermostat controls and everything else into place. So fingers crossed everything works out well. If you've been following us for a while, you know it doesn't always work that way, but we'll see how we get on. Without further ado, let's crack on. Right, so in the box, got a number of things. We've got the diesel heater itself. There we go, Autoterm Air 2D, so it's a 2 kilowatt diesel heater. Turret there, so we're going to drill a hole in the floor in the garage, and then that's going to go through. The diesel heater will mount onto this. That will allow the air intake and exhaust to go through down under the van. Really, we've got a lot of cables, no idea what that is. We've got more cables. We've got the instructions there, installation manual. I'm sure I will be looking at that. So yeah, we've got a few bits and pieces in here. That's the exhaust parts, so we'll see what we've got. There's the silencer there. So there's a big kit, and I'm going to sit down and have a read of this, and then we'll see where to start, because I don't know. There's the fuel tank. As I say, 15 litre fuel tank. Fill it up there, mount it on using the 4 holes there. We'll put it on the side of the van, on the inside, on the wall. That'll do the job quite nicely. I'm assured 15 litres will last quite a while, actually. I think this heater in particular will use about 0.1 of a litre an hour on low, and then 1/4 of a litre on high. If we use it on low, 0.1 of a litre, 1500 hours or something like that, this is going to run. I don't know if that's true, we'll soon find out. There we go, we'll put that on there like that, straight in there onto the battens behind the board, and then we just fill up, either using the fuel pump or a jerry can, whichever. Probably pump will be easy, just open the back doors and fill it up. It does rattle because we've got the sender sort of pickup sort of nipple thing that has to go in here, and that's inside rattling around at the moment, so we've got to take that out, install that in the bottom here, or here, yeah, it'll be here, so that we can actually have something to connect the fuel pipe to. So that's going to be the first job. We'll connect that up and then we'll get this on the wall. Right, so as I said, that's where the fuel outlet's going to be. That's a little nipple there, you can see that. So the fuel pipe will go onto that, but it's got to be installed from the inside, so that comes out, and then we literally just secure it into place with a nut. So we've got to drill a hole in here, whatever size that is, put this in from the inside somehow, and then get the nut on there and tighten it up, and then that's the first job done. There we go, got an 8mm bit. It is a wood bit, I haven't got a HSS bit. I have 8mm, so please don't slate me in the comments. We'll drill a little hole in there, nice and easy, and then we've got to try and get that in there somehow. So what I'm going to do, drop it in, rather than try and shake it out and hope for a miracle. I'm going to get a magnet and see if I can tease it out with a magnet. Right, let's see if we can get this to work. I've no idea where it is. Okay, it's not magnetic, so that's gone out the window. That didn't work. Plan B. Tease the tip in, should we say. Come on. Okay, that's not going to work. Right, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to use the fuel pipe, put that through, try and feed that through the hole, which is there, attach, connect it onto the end, so I'll attach that onto the end like that, and then we'll try and put it through. Hopefully that might work. Right, plan B. I'm going to use this, it's not magnetic, but I'm going to use an extendable magnet, and I'm just going to tape this on and hopefully allow me to reach down to the hole. Ah, there we go. Okay, so all we've got to do, try not to drop it, little seal on there, and then we'll get the nuts on there, and we'll just secure that down tight as we can. So we'll get a spanner on that, and we'll just tighten it up a little bit more. But that is in place. Lovely. So we'll just mount this inside the garage somewhere, and then the fuel line will connect to that. Obviously we want to have it leaning back slightly because the fuel sender's at the back. We want to get as much fuel out of here as possible, so we'll lean it back ever so slightly. So no comments to say I've put it on the piss, because no, I have. Okay, that'll do for now. What I might do, we've got some ratchet straps. I might put a ratchet strap around it just to make sure it's completely solid. It's not going to go anywhere, as that's a little bit wobbly for my liking. It's just because of the flex of the tank. So we'll put a ratchet strap around the back and around the front, and that'll hold it in nicely. Right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to find somewhere to put this turret. So we've got to drill a large hole in the floor, which is always unnerving, and that is a big hole, let's face it. Now what I've done is I've put a magnet underneath, under the floor pan of the van, in a nice sort of gap area which is big enough for the hole, and I've got a magnet inside the van on the floor to try and line the two up, same way we did with the shower drain. Let's see how we get on with that. Right, so I've got a magnet underneath the floor pan, go across, and then if you look carefully, there we go, you can see if you can make that out on camera, you can see it, there's a bit of resistance there where the other magnet is, so that means the other magnet is just under this circle here. So that's where we're going to drill through. Now I've put it over slightly further over this way, so I want to bring it over probably about an inch or so over. That will put it there, put it like that, that's it. So that's where it's going to be, the turret. We're a few inches away from this slot, so they should be okay. And I might cover this over anyway, just to protect everything else. So I think that's where we're going to put it. Now these installation instructions do say around about 1 metre between here and the first bend. It's not quite 1 metre, but that's as close as I'm going to get. So we're going to come off of here, we're going to branch off through the heat exchanger, and then that will heat the garage, and then we'll go up. We've got the ducting to go through to the rest of the van, and then up here we've got the ducting which is going to go up into the bedroom area. So I'll mount that above the tank, come down, we'll join onto a Y piece, come down to the heater via a splitter, which is being thrown around the van. There we go. So there's a Y branch splitter, so the diesel heat will go in there, and then we can adjust whether it goes one way and goes off to the van, or this way and goes off towards the heat exchanger. So that's what that is. That'll need to be mounted on the end of the diesel heater there. Before we do all that, we've got to drill this hole. It is a big hole. This is a 130mm hole. There we go. 5 1/8 of an inch, 130mm. Just right. Should be a nice snug fit with a bit of luck. We don't want it too big. So that should go through nicely. We'll drill a pilot hole through here. Make sure we're in the right place underneath. We're going to miss all of the structural beams, and then we'll go ahead and drill the big hole with that. It's always unnerving drilling a big hole in your van, especially a 130mm hole. But then we did the max fans and the windows, so you get used to it. It's just on the floor. I don't think that went through. Right, so it did go through, only just. So at least we know where it's coming out at the bottom now. So we need the guide drill for this. We're almost there. Drill's getting hot. I think the drill's got a little bit warm. What do you think? I don't think it likes drilling holes this size. It's only a small drill, and it has had its work cut out throughout this build. But I think this is one of the last big jobs you're gonna have to do, mate. Bear with me, another couple of minutes. Oh, there we go. Just about survived. That was a big hole for that one, I must say. Did well, buddy. next job, red oxide primer. Treat the metal inside the hole so it doesn't rust. That's the last thing we want, is a rusty hole. There we go. Not pretty, but it's all covered. That's the main thing. Just don't want any rust anywhere. So that's that done. Right, we'll let that dry, and then we'll seal, put some sealant around the turret. We'll seal all this up, we'll get the turret in place. Right, so while we're waiting for that to dry, we may as well get the diesel heater set up. On one side of the diesel heater, you've got the heat exchanger there. On the other side, you've got the fan. Intake on the fan side, exhaust on the heat exchanger side. So let's get these fitted first. Turret on. Some nuts here. Those on. Right, that's the turret on. Now we've got to try and get these bits on. So that'll fit on there, that's fine. On here, push that into place. So there we go, heat exchanger that side and exhaust on that side. So now we've got to tighten this up. Typically that doesn't fit. Then we get the exhaust. Jubilee clip, we'll get that a bit smaller. Okay, that's those in. Right, so time for the fuel line. There's a fuel line. Now the fuel line is significantly smaller than the fuel intake on here. So what we use is something from the kit there, fuel mounting kit. We've got some of these little tubes. There we go, little tubes. And that's like a connector between the two. Between the fuel pipe and the intake. So we've got these little tiny Jubilee clips. We use those. There we go, 2 of those. So I need to put one on either side, on there and one there. Just like that. And then we put one end on the intake on the bottom of the heater. Push that on. Come on you go. It's quite a tight fit. But then it needs to be, because we don't want this falling off. Let's see if we can loosen this off a bit first. Always helps to loosen it off a little bit. There we go, straight on there. Push the Jubilee clip over the top if we can. Push that right the way down as far as we can. And there we go, that's on there. We've just got to tighten that up. So back in there with the 8mm. It's a bit fiddly, I've got to say. Try to get your hands in here, there's not much room. And that's sufficiently tight. Same with the end there. I'll just pop that in the end of there. Again, just loosen the Jubilee clip off. Just feed that down inside there. Trouble is, don't know how far down it's going. Try not to kink it. There we go. And then we'll just tighten that up. That's nice and tight. That's not coming off. Next, get the other end of the fuel pipe. Quite long. They do give you quite a bit, they're quite generous with the pipe. And then what we need to do here, if you can make that out, there's a little black grommet there. So what I'm going to do is just drill a little hole in there big enough for the pipe, and we're going to poke it back through, because obviously we're not connecting this to the vehicle fuel tank, it's going to the tank inside. So we need this to come back inside the vehicle. So that's the next job. We'll drill that, feed this through, and then we're ready to seal around the outside. Seal the hole as well, best we can, and then put this into position. And I will see you guys in the garage. That looks nice and neat. I'll put some sealant around this hole, both sides, just to stop anything getting through. The last thing we want is any exhaust fumes coming through the back inside. But that looks pretty good. Right, time to seal this up. I hate this stuff. Anyone's seen me do sealant before, you'll know I hate doing this. It's not a very nice job, and I'm not very good at it. So I don't mind admitting I am not very good at sealing things up. I'm going to make an absolute mess of this. Yeah, I'm not very good at sealing. It's a mess, as it always is. But what you're going to do, we've got to get all this down through the hole. Never have too much sealant for this. You really don't want any of these fumes getting in the van. And on that subject, I definitely recommend getting a CO2 detector when you have one of these installed. You can't be too careful. Yeah, that seems to be enough, because that's coming out around the outsides now, which is what I wanted. Get that off my hands. and then we'll bolt this securely into place. That's nice and secure. We'll clean this up. We've got a seal underneath as well, around the other side of that turret, make sure it's nicely sealed so no water gets in, and more importantly, no fumes get back through. The next thing to do, we'd cut this to the right size so we can route that round. We can get the fuel filter and the fuel pump installed, get it connected to the tank, and then we can go underneath the van and start mounting all of the exhaust pipes and silencer and the air intake. Right, what I've actually decided to do is I'm going to run the pump on the underside of the van so it's quieter inside. We're not listening to it while we're trying to sleep. So what I need to do now, I need to run this wiring loom here down through the hole where the grommet was. I might be able to drill a bigger hole in the grommet so that both of them go through. I might do that instead, and then that will go down to the fuel pump. That will connect into there, these two. Apparently the polarity doesn't make any difference which way round you go, and then that there will go into the fuel pump connection there. We can mount that underneath the van. Now you've got an arrow on there, if you can see, that has to be towards the diesel heater, and it has to be at an angle of around about 20 degrees, 25 degrees. I'll make sure when we mount that we get the right angle and it's facing the right way, otherwise we're going to have problems. Right, so under the van, got the cable. So the cables go in here. Polarity doesn't matter. It should just go in with a nice sort of click, I think. Push them right in as far as we can. Don't seem to be very secure, I must say. Right, and then that folds down round it to help click it into place. This isn't easy. If I'm making this look easy, believe me, it's not. Right, I'm going to have to use something to push that in because that's quite difficult. Right, okay, so that's that. And then we get the plug onto there. That's it, it clips on there. So that's the wiring on there. We've just got to secure that a little bit better. Then we've got to secure this to the van, and we've got to get the pipe, the fuel pipe down here as well. So we need a bit more slack on that fuel pipe. Sealant all over the place down here. Right, so there's probably enough slack on there. So that's got to be mounted onto here. So we just cut it off and then connect up these two sides. So again, we need the rubber tube things, tubely clipped on to connect this up. And then we've just got to connect this probably on there somewhere, I would say. That looks like a nice little place. Making sure we got the right angle as well. I think that'll probably be okay. Let's see what room we've got. Right, should have done this up the top of the van so it was easier, but we need to get these little things on the pump so we can connect up the fuel line. There we go. Sometimes it's easier to heat these up as well, just to give you a little bit more leverage to get it on. There we go. Right, there's one. Put that back in there. The other one on. Let's take these out for a minute so I don't break them. Get this on there, go on you go. Come on. There's the rubber bits on there. All we've got to do now is mount this onto the chassis and then connect the fuel pipes onto either end. That's that job done. Now where to mount it, that's the question. Ah, the hex head. Great. That's a nice tight fit. That's not good. It's loose. I like that. It goes into there, so we're gonna have to cut that there. There we go. zip tie that up there out of the way. That's pretty good. Like that. So you've got an angle on there. We'll zip tie this on up here out of the way. That should be good. Right, the next job we want to do is start fitting the exhaust. So here's the muffler, got a bracket on there, so we'll mount that up on underneath somewhere. Now before we do, we want to make a little hole in the bottom here, just to allow any water to escape, so that if any moisture does accumulate in here, it doesn't just settle and end up rusting this away. First job, put a little hole in here somewhere at the bottom. Wow, that's strong. There we go, just a little hole there. That should allow anything just to escape. That's good enough. We'll just make sure it's mounted so the hole's at the bottom there. Let's get this on. Right, on exhaust, we're going to mount that just on here. That's going to go onto the muffler, which we mounted onto here, so that the exhaust goes out the back there. Let's get that on. One of these on. Tighten that up. There we go. That's not going anywhere. So we'll mount that on there. We want the air intake as far over this way as we can. We'll probably use some zip ties and just tie it up there somewhere, and that will probably do the job nicely. Right, now everything underneath the van is fixed in place and secure. Diesel heater is mounted nicely, so the next job is to get this cut down and fitted to the tank, and it's exactly the same process before, using the little tubes. So let's get that done. So we'll just get that one in there. There we go, and we'll just secure that onto the wall there. That'll go underneath the diesel heater, secure it onto the floor and onto the wall so it doesn't move around. So that's that done. So we've got a wiring loom here. We've got to get all that connected up to our electrics here. Right, we've got 3 wiring looms. There's this one that's connected to the pump. We've got this one, which is the diesel heater connection. And then we've got this one, which has got all the fuses in, so that's for the power. Actually, there's a 4th one as well. We've got this little guy here. So all the plugs are different, so it should be quite self-explanatory as to where they all go. So let's get all these rigged up. Right, so this is the controller. It's called the comfort controller, and this will be mounted inside the van where we can get to it nice and easily. Got a little plug on there, so I'm presuming the plug there goes onto that plug there, and then that one there plugs into, where is it, that one there. So that's the first job. Just going to put everything together for now and just see how it works. Okay, so that's that one connected. Next we got this one. This is coming from the pump. So we've got, now I've got 2 possible plugs that could be. That one now on the diesel heater, or this one here. So I think we're going to have to do a bit of reading. Right, so this one here goes to the fuel pump, and then that one there goes to the power. Right, next thing we've got to do, connect up the power. That goes onto my secondary fuse box, which I'll set up. That will hopefully give us some power to the comfort controller, and we'll see what we've got. Right, there we go. So it's all wired up onto there. We've got the controller here, so we switch on electrics. Ah, there we go. Lovely. So we've got power to the controller. It's all a bit messy. It all needs tidying up, but at least we can see if it's working. So 12 degrees at the moment, 13.2 volts on the battery. That's fine. So press that. Temperature mode. Okay, I can hear this spooling up, but we don't want that on because we've got no fuel in there. Let's turn it off. for the moment. Get some fuel in, and then we can test it out. Right, so Kelly's got to hand over the end of the diesel heater, which can mean only one thing. It's warm. Well, you actually feel it. Feel the garage heating up. Oh yeah, nice. Let's see what this says. It says 14 degrees. That's because the back doors are open and we've got the temperature sensor is at the back. I can tell you for a fact that is warming up nicely. Oh yeah. Happy days. So all we've got to do now is tidy up all of this cabling, and then we may box it in so it's protected. But that is pretty much done. Right, another day, and it's a cold one, and I'm feeling it today because I've had my hair cut. So we need to get the ducting all put together for this diesel heater and get this van warmed up. Right, so we've got to route this up around the top there and down. We've got the ducting coming in from the main living area, that's got to be connected up. We've got the heat exchanger there, that's got to be connected up as well. And then we've got to tidy up all this cabling, get the control panel mounted, that's down there, and then we can test out how warm this makes the van. On there. Right, what I've got here is a wire piece. I've got a piece here going off to the bedroom, and this one will be going off to the main living area. And it's got two valves on it, so I can adjust how much air is going into the bedroom and into the living area. And if there's one that needs adjusting, if we've got too much going into the bed, I can just close that down slightly. If it's not warm enough, I can open it up. So it just makes sure we've got the right amount of flow going to where we need it. Now to get it connected. So I need a small piece on there, and then that needs to be connected up to the ducts that are coming out from behind the toilet area for the kitchen and living area. Jubilee clip on, that goes on that bit there, connects those, I'll mount that on the wall, some clips. Right, so next up is the diverter. Air comes in, we can divert air from one way or the other. So if we come out this way, this will be connected to this, and then that will divert air through the heat exchanger, the Bobil Vans heat exchanger, which will then heat up the elements in here. And then once this gets to a certain temperature, the pump there, that will start pumping water from the tank there through the heat exchanger and back into the tank. So it's taking the cooler water that's not been heated or is cooling down around here, reheating it and putting it in there ready for use. So basically this makes sure that any heating that we are not using in the inside the van, if we want the diesel heater on, we can still heat the water, if that makes sense. Clever piece of kit. Just got to get that connected to that connected to that, and then join those two up, and then we're done. Right, there we go. So we're going from the diesel heater to the diverter. So one way I send it through the heat exchanger, the other way goes up to here, to this wire piece, which we can adjust the airflow either way we want. That bit goes up to the bedroom area through there, and then the rest of it goes through the wall there to the bathroom, kitchen and lounge. So that is that all connected up. All we've got to do now is switch it on and see if it warms the van up nicely. Obviously we've got to mount this on the wall somewhere, probably in the bedroom area, so we don't have to get up in the morning to turn it on. We're going to fit the most important part of fitting a diesel heater, and that is carbon monoxide detector. Never have a diesel heater without one. This is X-Sense. We use these for our smoke alarms and for our leak detectors, so we've already got the system up and running. Brilliant company, brilliant products. Not sponsored, just personal recommendation. So we're going to get this set up on the router, get it mounted somewhere kind of high up, which is where you're supposed to put a carbon monoxide detector, and just make sure we're safe, because that's the most important thing. There we go. Oh, I did like a peel, so there should be battery pull. Yep, we pull that out, set it up on the app, and we get it mounted up. Right, so all you do is go onto the Xsense app, and then you've got all your devices listed. We've got a base station, water leak sensor behind the bathroom taps. We're going to put another one of those in the garage as well. A couple of smoke alarms, one by the inverter, one by the van battery. But what we want is this little red button up here, the add button. Scan QR code, we can do that. That's on the back. So we'll scan that. There we go. Click next. Next, because we've already connected the battery. Please hold the test button, silence button for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the blue LEDs are flashing. Operation confirmed. Yep, next. Searching for nearby Bluetooth devices. There we go, it's found it. Right, enter the password for the Wi-Fi. Right, that's Wi-Fi code entered. It's connecting this to the Wi-Fi, and hopefully the base station will tell us that it's connected. Right, there's a beep to say it's been found. It's connecting to the Wi-Fi, and now it's connecting to the cloud server, because obviously we can check this remotely wherever we are. So we're outside of the van, we can get notification that the carbon monoxide detector or the leak detector or smoke detector have gone off, which is really handy. It normally tells you when it's connected. Device added. Okay, finish. But it's showing on here. It's online. It's got the CO2 levels in here as well. So it's 0 ppm. That's exactly what we want to see. No parts per million. That's great. Right, now that's connected, the last thing to do is just to test it. There we go. That's doing a diagnostic. Passed. Lovely. And then on the phone, it should, fingers crossed. That's a lovely picture of us, isn't it? That's that was Dubai. If you haven't seen the Dubai video, go and check it out. Come on. There we go. Notification, device tested, carbon monoxide alarm. So there we go. So that's working. That's connected to the server, to the base station, and base station sent the signal through to the phone. So happy days. Right, so that's it. That is the diesel heater fitted. The Autoterm 2 kilowatt diesel heater from Bobil Vans. Now, Bobil Vans are a great company, great support, and can't fault their products at all. As you can see, this works absolutely brilliantly, as does our water heater. So we've got the whole hybrid system from them. Absolutely pleased as bunch with them. So please do check them out in the link in the description below. Now, if you found, shut down now. If you found this video helpful in any way, if you've liked watching, if you want to subscribe, please do. Hit that thumbs up button, give us a few likes, comment below, all that jazz. It all helps the channel, and we will see you guys next time. Bye for now.